and welcome to another edition of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I'm your host, Shawn Needham, along with my wonderful wife, Janet, and we are streaming live from the Team Needham Abode podcast studio. And we are super excited to have Dr. Jason Kinley back on our show. He is a naturopath in Spokane, Washington, and he's going to be telling us a little about his practice and why he doesn't bill insurance. Jason, welcome to our show.
Thanks so much, Shawn and Janet, for having me on again. I love talking to you guys.
And I love hearing about your history, about what got you into naturopathic medicine and, how you're here today. So can you explain that?
Yes, so my journey started when I was a kid. I had a lot of antibiotics because I had frequent illness, and nobody said it could be environmental factors. And environmental and food. Those were two really the big things because you go back, 40 years at this point, and it was all what was convenient, what worked for the family, and it was starting to push more and more to income households and or moving away from doing a lot of the work yourself, and you should be in an urban environment, and if you have a land, don't grow food on it. It's all of that kind of mindset that we are now trying to undo, and it led to my own health challenges as a child. And then fast forward, I had a traumatic brain injury 18 years ago now, 18 years ago, and I ended up going through some naturopathic medicine. It helps me a little bit, but I was still having frequent illness issues. And once I saw a different naturopath here locally, actually, this is years ago, um, all of a sudden my life changed. And I didn't realize how sick I was and how concerned my wife was for my health until realistically about a year ago. She told me, she goes, back when we were first married, I was worried. I didn't know how you were going to support us because you were sick all the time and you're always missing time from work. And I had no idea she felt that way. She didn't tell me that until about a year ago. And I've been doing this a long time already now. And so I was like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. So that's how I ended up where I'm at. And I went to naturopathic school because it was actually her suggestion. She said, we were running organic CSA, community supported agriculture. So we ran a farm in the summer. And then I was teaching gym class, and I was an athletic director, and I was developing a health curriculum for a private school that didn't have one. And so she's like, you love teaching and you're good at explaining things to people and you love to work with people. I think you ought to do this. And I said, you're nuts. We already have, I think, 3 kids at the time. I'm like, this is crazy. So then I got into school with 4 and now I have 9. So, um, yeah, so that's how I ended up where I'm at now.
Well, does your wife think she's crazy or you're crazy now?
She still thinks I'm crazy, but that has nothing to do with this.
Right. Right. Well, it's amazing how, wives, and it talks about it in the Bible, but wives have great intuition, and we need to listen to them more often.
Yeah, right. They're not behind you, they're beside you. And
Right.
they're there to
Right.
help you. And she stands beside me through this whole process, all the ups and downs. You guys know you own your pharmacy. There's always, ups and downs when you own a business, and you have to take care of your health through that process, right? And I know you guys had your own journey. You guys have talked a lot about that on your podcast, where you guys were and how you ended up where you're at now. But that's true for all of us. And that's the thing that gets missed is healthcare isn't healthcare anymore. You know that. People that watch your podcast, a lot of them know that now, but there's still so many people that have no concept about, oh, well, you mean all I can do is disease management? That's healthcare. No, that's managing a disease. It doesn't eliminate the disease at all. And this gets into why you brought me on today, which is why I don't bill insurance. I had a guy come in just yesterday with his wife, and his problem list was I have gut problems, I have constipation, I have bloating, but he had 2 medications, one for diabetes and one for high blood pressure. He never knew, because nobody talked to him, that it's possible to get off of those drugs.
Right.
He was
Yeah.
here because his health was managed and he was okay, but he didn't want to be on the drugs, but he didn't think it was possible to get off. And it's like, absolutely. It's going to take a lot of work on your part, and my job's to guide the process. Insurance does not pay for true health care. They pay for disease management, right? And they pay for surgery. That's what they pay for, and they get in the way and they prevent me from having a relationship with my patient. Instead of being able to say, you know what, Shawn, I know you had this, and this problem. You're going to have to wait and schedule for these other two. I can only see you for the one today because that's all the time I have. And based on your insurance, that's what I can bill for. It's a complete nightmare. And it doesn't allow patients to get any better. That's the really short version of one of many reasons that I don't take insurance.
And I think it's by design, Jason. I think, insurance companies and drug companies have colluded to create this system by design so a doctor doesn't have time to say, hey, you could actually reverse your blood pressure, your high blood pressure, or your diabetes. The only thing they have time for is to prescribe a drug.
Absolutely. Well, and we talked about this on the history of medicine when you had brought me on before, right? Rockefeller bankrolling the AMA, he owned Standard Petroleum, which created petroleum-based pharmaceuticals, and he bankrolled the American Medical Association so you get people back to work. And then in 1917, the Flexner Report cut out nutrition, cut out homeopathy, cut out botanical medicine, cut all those things out of school, and now you get patients that'll come into my office because we don't take insurance. I'm their last hope, and I'm tired of being the last hope. And I don't mean that for that patient. I mean that we've created this idea
Right.
that you have to wait until you are hopeless to come and see me rather than being the forefront, where we start instead of rather where you end up. And I talk about this all the time, and I say that there's a concept out there that we are the alternative, and it's a misconception. We are actually the original form of healthcare, and the
Right.
conventional system is the alternative to what we offer. And that is the way I truly see that. So I really want patients to have a naturopath. Everybody should have one on their team. Everybody needs to have a good naturopathic doctor as part of their medical care team. And then when you get stuck, you send out to the specialist for information so that you can come up with a way to treat it, right? It's not that we're anti information. It's that I'm against disease management when we can reverse or prevent so many of these things, but we wait too long to do it because insurance just pushes them that way. And that's the kind of thing that just absolutely irritates me when I see this day in and day out. When people are going, well, my insurance company won't pay for this. And here's another reason I don't take it. I had a patient who's on a prescription and it was for thyroid medication, and I prescribed it. And then I get back, and I don't contract with insurance. I get from their company, you need a pre-authorization. Okay, I pulled the paperwork out. It took me 20 minutes to fill out the pre-authorization form for something that I'm telling them that they need because you have a paper pusher sitting in an office somewhere that says, nope, it's not in our formulary. You don't get it on your plan, but your buddy who's with our insurance company that has a different plan, they can have it. Who the hell comes up with these
Yeah.
reasons? It's a flip of a coin. So then we send it all in. The insurance company says, wait, no, we need more information from you. Are you kidding me? You're not. So I sent in a bill to the insurance company, and anybody else out there that doesn't take insurance, if you get stuck with this, bill those companies and keep billing them so that they realize they need to change their policies. Sometimes they actually pay me because I'm like, nope, I'm sending you a bill for everything, all my time, right? I'm not going to bill my patient because you guys are idiots, but I will bill you because you're taking their money and not making them, not giving them the care they need. So I
Well,
this
and
just
yeah,
lights me
it's
up.
it's very frustrating. And one thing I think we have to do as healthcare professionals is educate patients on what a scam insurance is.
Oh,
And
right.
and I'm like with the thyroid drug, um, you know, the patient would have been better off in the long run to just get it filled at a pharmacy. Don't tell them they have insurance and just pay cash for it.
Yep. Yeah, I know, and it would have saved everybody a whole lot of headache.
Yeah.
And then, we're just, this whole thing really does. It just fires me up because so many people are left with thinking, well, do you take insurance? No. Oh, well, I'm going to go use my insurance. And so I have the conversation. What are they really going to pay for? You're going to pay your copay. Well, it only cost me 20 or $30. You're right. Until you get the bill in the mail where you now have to hit your deductible for the year. I had a patient come in and sign up with us last week. She spent almost $12,000 out of pocket with insurance last year. And she's like, for what? I got nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody could give me a single answer for $12,000. Not one. And that's in addition to her premiums. I mean,
Yeah, and her premiums are probably anywhere from, depending on her age and health, anywhere from 1,000 to $2,000 a month, if
yeah,
it's for her whole family. Rip
right.
off.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, man, you know how many people I can work with for that much money? If you
Yeah,
come
right.
in, right? I work with some folks, and there's some folks that, yeah, they spend $5,000 with us over a period of time, but it's changed their life, and they are no longer spending hundreds of dollars on medications every month, or thousands in some cases. People on biological drugs, they can
Yeah,
spend upwards of thousands of dollars a month for a prescription, and they're like, well, but my insurance covered the other 5,000. Like,
yeah,
where in there do you understand what you're being sold? It is an absolute set of snake oil. When we talk about snake oil, insurance is snake oil. There is no question about it. Now, insurance from a catastrophic perspective, you have a life-saving surgery that may prevent bankruptcy for some people, right? You had a heart attack or you have a car accident and you need that trauma surgeon, and now you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is the only case that I can make for insurance. But in the case of the heart attack where you had the surgery, how did you get there?
Yes. Yes.
How did we get there first? It's, I used to work in the bicycle industry, and we had a thing, people come in and they were called JRAs. I was just riding along and this thing fell off. It's the same thing in the healthcare world. I don't know what happened. I had a heart attack. Wait a minute. Okay, some of it's going to be they didn't teach you, and the other was we have told people you don't need to take responsibility for your health because you can go to the doctor and the doctor fixes you. They don't fix anything. I don't fix anything. My job is to be the guide from where you are, your desert, the place where you're miserable and don't want to be, and the place you want to get to is your destination. And that's going to take a lot of work, but I'm going to co-labor. My whole team is going to help you get there, but you have to be willing to work. And it's amazing the number of people that don't actually want to do the work.
Well, we've kind of taught people over the last, what, 60, 70 years with the insurance that their responsibility is the government, not theirs. And their doctor's going to fix them. But then they feel like, you know, I'm not going to get better. And the doctor's kind of in that same corner with them saying, you're just going to have to live with this. So they
Yes.
almost have to become so miserable before that insanity is in their face saying, no, you got to do something has to change, or they just accept it.
Yep, absolutely. And that's again, you're absolutely right, Janet. That's coming from the mindset of the way we have brainwashed people. And it's not just in medicine, it's in every facet of life, right? School is another problem. No, this is the best we have for you. It's really the parent's primary role to educate the child. It's not the government's role. And we need to get accountability back to the individual and take it back from the authorities that have said you don't know enough for yourself. We know better than you do for your health, your life, and what you need. I mean, it's just the bird flu. There's another prime example, right? Let's call all the healthy birds, drive the cost of food up, and wait a minute. Oh, wait. So now people should eat eggs, but I thought eggs had cholesterol, and cholesterol's bad for us. And oh, wait, you should eat butter now? No, you should eat margarine. No, wait, we're back to butter. It's this concept of how do you trust anybody? And that's the silver lining with COVID. COVID really sent a shockwave through a lot of people that were like, oh no, we were just riding along, and suddenly, wham, they got hit with, whoa, wait a minute, I don't trust anything coming out. And now they're at least looking. And in the last 5 years, more and more people are asking questions, but they're still in the I'm broken, the doctor fixes me, and my insurance pays for it mindset. And that's the thing that I really want to get people to understand is take that money, do a lot of other things with it, and find a catastrophic plan. One that will cover you in the case of a true emergency, because it's not healthcare. It just is not. There's no way it can be with pushing drugs and taking kickbacks. We've seen the numbers from COVID, and we
Mhm.
saw the numbers from the vaccines and what the hospitals got if people were sick. Um, I don't know. We may have talked about this. Did you know I was on the board of health in Spokane?
I don't remember that. You may have told us and I forgot, but
So I was on the Spokane Regional Health District during COVID. I got appointed at the end of 2019, got on the board in 2020. We had in-person meeting in January, February, and then went to virtual in March because of the pandemic. And from there, all of our meetings were virtual for the remainder of my term. And in that process, I came out in May, and anybody who's watching this, you can Google the article. It's still there. It's driven patients to me because they're like, that's the guy I want to see. I came out and I was questioning the mask mandates because at the time the CDC and WHO guidelines didn't match. And I said, what are we doing? None of this matches up. And oh, by the way, vitamin C can be useful. Well, in one of the meetings I had with at the time the health officer, Dr. Bob Lutz, and that was a whole nother topic we can talk about on a different day. Um, I was questioning him about, I'm hearing hospitals are getting paid more money for listing COVID as a death on there. Oh no, that's not happening. That's not possible. And well, I'm hearing about people being marked with COVID who don't have COVID. I'm simply asking the questions to the health
right.
officer. And the health officer may not have known because it was still too new. Maybe he did. But the point was the fallout from that was absolutely, oh no, there's no way. Insurance companies can't do that. This guy's crazy. He's full of it. That's nope. And what did we find out? The insurance companies paid an astronomical amount of money or collected an astronomical amount of money for somebody being marked with COVID. It was complete insurance fraud and nothing has happened. And these are the folks that you're trusting your healthcare to.
Yeah. And now over the last 5 years, they've been exposed for the truth has come out. Yes, insurance companies were doing that. Yes, hospitals were doing that. And in fact, last fall when we were at that Vax 3
Yep.
screening with you, one of the things I wasn't surprised, but it was just cool to see it on screen.
Yeah.
The people that did the best in hospitals, that survived and had the best outcomes at hospitals, were people that didn't have insurance.
Yeah. It's because they
And we
couldn't make
shouldn't
any
be
money off of
surprised.
them,
Yeah,
right?
right. Because they find out it's like, oh, no insurance. We can't charge an extra $38,000 for ventilator and remdesivir and all this kind of stuff. So oh, you're fine. You can go home.
Right?
I mean, just
Yeah.
evil
Yeah.
stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh-oh, did we freeze?
And one thing you talked about it, but it's good to hit on it. It's good to hit on it even more is that, insurance, whether it be car insurance, home insurance, the history of insurance in general, has been for things that are unexpected. So,
Right.
you look at history of insurance. I think Lloyd's of London was one of the first insurance company, and they were the ones that would insure ships coming from London to the United States, and they would insure if they sank because every once in a while they would. That's a catastrophic event. They weren't expecting that, but now
Right.
with health insurance, um, their day to day ingrown toenail or diaper rash to be covered on insurance, and that's not what insurance was.
No. No, it was not. Absolutely not designed for that. It was really designed, as you said, for the catastrophic. And when I work with patients and they come in and they get better and they're like, why did I wait so long? You waited so long because you were programmed to follow an algorithm. We've taught you to follow a particular pattern for your quote unquote healthcare.
Right.
And that programming is why you didn't realize there was another option. And as you said earlier, it was intentional. This whole thing is an intentional way to keep people sick because that's where they make their money. I mean, it's just cancer care is another prime example. They did a study with oncologists and they asked them, how many of you would undergo the treatment that you recommend to your patients? And the number was like 80% said, no way. I wouldn't undergo what I'm recommending to my patients under certain aspects of this. And we spend more money in the last 2 weeks of life in this country on health care than at any other point. It's absolutely insane. And that's all insurance driven.
Well, Shawn and I had it with the DPC we talked about was most people that practice as physicians in a system that are under insurance, somebody else is making the money. Somebody else is earning, but your response is still there as the doctor. So it's so crazy. Like, why should the hospital be reaping in all this money? And then that doctor is ultimately responsible for that care, whether it's, the care that we would choose or not. It still makes no sense.
Yep. I was listening to, I think it was NPR at one point. They were interviewing a GI internist out of Seattle. And the doctor was saying that, all right, between his student loans and whatever, he's working these crazy hours. His paycheck looks big, but by the time he's, between malpractice and all of these things, he's got nothing left and he's burned out. And this is part of the reason these folks are, have 5-minute visits. They're just trying to keep their lights on because insurance doesn't pay for a lot of things in a way that makes sense. I had a colleague of mine was taking state insurance. They took Medicaid. And the Medicaid system is really poor healthcare across the board for so many reasons. That's why offices limit both Medicare and Medicaid if they take them. And the patient, the doctor got $6 was the reimbursement. $6. Now, I'm not a fan of McDonald's, but you might as well go work at McDonald's to make that $6 without the headache, right? Because at that point, the level of responsibility on your shoulders for $6 definitely isn't worth it. Another problem with insurance companies. So, Medicare, naturopaths are not contracted with Medicare. They can't be because that is federal insurance, and federally they don't recognize our license. Medicaid is state insurance, and Medicaid will. So I have patients who are on Medicaid that I see, and I can order their labs through LabCorp. And because they don't have any money, Medicaid will pay for their labs. So there's one, okay, fine. I don't have a problem with that. I do a free low-income clinic once a month also for patients who literally can't afford to pay because I'm going to give back to the community in some way so that I can take care of those folks who are like, I want out of the system, but I really can't afford it. I had a lady who's on SSDI and she makes $9,000 a year. That's it. Like, and the state pays for her housing and she can't hold a job because of her disability. Yeah, okay. You qualify and you need help. Let me do what I can to help you, right? So there's a way to work with that. So I had a patient who had money, wasn't the problem. They're on Medicare. And I ordered the labs for them because they had some fatigue issues. I palpated the thyroid, so I felt the thyroid gland. You know how many doctors don't feel the thyroid gland when they're worried about
Yeah.
thyroid? It comes out of Bates physical exam. This is standard med school 101 stuff, and they don't do it because they don't have time. Felt the thyroid, there's nodules. I'm like, okay, we got a problem. So I ordered the labs and I ordered the ultrasound, and the patient paid cash for those because we didn't want to wait. We get the results back. Yep, there's a nodule that I felt. Yes, we need to do a biopsy, a needle biopsy, aspiration is what's being recommended. We had to make sure they didn't have thyroid cancer. So I call up Medicare and I say, look, I have a patient, all the labs have been done, the ultrasound has been done. They need an ENT referral who can do the biopsy. will you pay the ENT if I refer the patient? I'm not asking to be paid. They're not asking to pay for the labs of the ultrasound. Pay for the provider who's already contracted with you. No, we will not pay that provider because you are not in network, even though everything was done according to the conventional algorithm to make sure I was ruling out thyroid cancer for this patient. So the patient goes through the process. We now have to wait and find them a primary care provider because they didn't have one through Medicare. So now we not only did Medicare not pay for their ENT referral, the patient didn't have the money to pay for the biopsy and the appointment because now we're starting to get into some more costly procedures and Medicare fraud because the doctor contracted, so they can't do it, right? So we had to wait and find them a primary care provider. We delayed care for that patient for close to 2 months. By the time we could get them into primary care, get the referral over to ENT, and you know what primary care did? They looked at everything I had already done and went, yep, you need a referral to ENT. We delayed patient care because the government and some Yahoo sitting in an insurance office somewhere said, nope, we can't do this because of regulations that somebody somewhere decided were a good idea. Now, I realize there's insurance fraud and there's all those problems, but what we've done is we've turned our healthcare over to bureaucrats,
Yep.
essentially, which is what we're saying, and you have no responsibility, but when you get stuck, you're really stuck
Right.
because the system is awful. And this is why I can't take insurance. I can't afford to wait to get paid. I've got colleagues that 3 months, 4 months before they're getting paid. I can't keep my doors open.
And not only
Not
that, but it's substandard care. And a good example
oh,
is this. The Medicaid patient you're talking about, you don't take Medicaid, yet they choose to come to you and pay you out of pocket because the care they're getting somewhere else is so substandard.
absolutely. Right? And the really sad part is you said it with the movie that we saw, with the Vax 3 movie. If you're on Medicaid, you are frequently treated as substandard as a person. Forget the care. You're automatically like, oh, it's a Medicaid patient. It's the mindset because oh, you're not going to get paid. There's this weird thing in medicine. Oh, they're Medicaid. You must not have the intelligence. You must not have the money. You must. Sometimes life happens and stuff goes sideways for people. They're still a human being. We are still obligated to care for them, in my view, as a person God created. And therefore, we are obligated out of charity to make sure we take care of that person to the best of our ability because they're sitting in front of us.
Well, and speaking of charity, and you already kind of mentioned it, when you don't bill insurance, it gives you a lot more freedom to decide who you give charity to.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, that doctor friend of yours that's getting paid $6, he would be better off to just not take Medicaid and say, you know what, this one's on me. I'm going to give this one to you today. I'm not going to charge you.
Yep.
But when you take those programs, you're not allowed to do that
Right.
because they call you they call it cherry picking. So,
Right.
and in reality, if you look at the history of insurance and especially government insurance, I mean, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, before Medicare, before Medicaid, people were getting care. They were getting it at hospitals and clinics that just gave charity care, and they were mostly set up by churches. Um, those clinics now, or hospitals, like Providence, for instance, are largely reimbursed by the federal and state governments now. So they're controlled by them now. So they
Right.
can't give the charity care like they used to give charity care. They say they do, but it's nothing like it was.
Right. Exactly. And again, what did you say? We took it out of the hands of the people who could make the decision at the local level, and we passed it so far up the food chain that you can't get an answer in a timely fashion. I mean, I've had patients come in and sit down where I've known them for a long time, and they came in and they had something really bad. They were fully intending to pay, and I looked at it and I went, based on everything that's just happened, lost their job. I've had some people come in, yeah, I've saved some money. I lost my home. I'm now being in subsidized housing, but they still showed up on the schedule to pay. And I said, you know what? Don't. This is on me today because This is called caring for a human being. Yeah, there's a value transaction, and you've had that with me before. And there are people before where I've had them barter something, which
Yeah.
you're not supposed to legally do. I don't care
Mm.
if you can make me bread. If that's the gift you've got and that's all you can do, there are people that I will do that for. Why? Because you need to still put effort in and show that you have value, you value what you're getting, right? Because there's a critical component. And in the insurance model, there is no value for exchange for several reasons. Service tends to be subpar because it's disease management, not disease reversal, right? And you don't have any ownership in your healthcare because we've taught you it's not yours to care for, it's somebody else's. Where's the value exchange? There is no fair value exchange whatsoever in this current healthcare disease care system that we have. When you have no value in there, you're not going to take it seriously.
You have to have skin in the game.
Mhm.
And in the insurance model, in the typical insurance model, people don't have skin in the game. They think, well, somebody else is paying the bill. So it would be like, and I've used this example before and I have a video about it, but it would be like, if an employer or the government paid for auto insurance, people would wreck their cars daily.
Yeah, right? Because
Why
who
not?
cares? Yeah,
Yeah.
who cares?
And that's what they do with their bodies.
Right, absolutely. Because, oh, it's a $20 copay. That's only 3 coffees. That's
Yeah.
not a big deal, right? Well, I'm sorry, what?
Right.
I
Right.
just, people just don't understand the value of diet and lifestyle.
Yes.
And so many people go, oh, well, I've tried it. Well, usually what you've tried is without anybody guiding the process. There are very, very few people that are successful without somebody coaching and guiding the process. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just look at anybody, right? Successful businesses, we have a business coach, right? We professional athletes, they all have coaches. Why? Because they need somebody to make sure that they're staying on task with what their goal is. So when people go New Year's resolution, oh, I'm on a diet, they start out with great intentions, and this isn't slamming them, but they fall apart because there's nobody there to make sure they're
Yeah.
accountable, right? That's medicine is not science only. And the science anymore is even questionable. And we've known that for decades,
Yeah.
Right.
right? But it's also the art part, and the art part has been lost. I have a lady right now that's 82 years old, I think. Her husband passed away a few years ago. Her health has significantly improved, but she can't get herself to go into the gym because she doesn't like going by herself. I've tried to encourage her. So guess what I'm doing? I'm going with her once a week for about 5 weeks. Why? Because she needs to make sure she gets her backside in the gym to be able to get to her goals. That's the missing piece for her. Well, somebody's got to keep her accountable. Well, if I show up with her, she knows, oh, he's going to be there. I got to be there.
Right.
Right? That's medicine. You don't get that with insurance. I don't know a single doctor on insurance, and there may be somebody out there, and if you are, that's awesome. So I don't want to knock them. But insurance doesn't cover your time to go to the gym. Right? And she's not paying me to go to the gym. It's part of what she signed up for with me was I'm going to make sure I get you what you need to be accountable, right? And that's really that to me is medicine. It's every single aspect that you need in healthcare. Whether you're there holding the dying patient's hand in their home or being with their family, which I've done, or you're taking the person to the gym or you're taking them to the store or whatever, that's medicine. And insurance will not cover any
No.
of that.
No. It's been hijacked by big pharma. Brian McGowan, thank you for commenting. Interesting conversation. I'm a coder, and let me tell you, every insurance has so many other rules before they pay. Wish it was more uniform and standard down the line. Yeah, it's crazy the number of codes and some of the whole coding thing. We wouldn't need insurance codes at all if we didn't bill insurance. It would just be a doctor writing notes and saying, hey, the patient had a fever and I took care of it. Didn't have to be, well, what's the diagnosis code and what's the CPT code and all this kind of stuff. We wouldn't need any of that garbage.
Yeah. Well, and here's a primary example. I'm sure you guys have seen this before, DSM-5,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is an insurance book, folks. This is not a book on exactly what we're going to treat because 90% of this book gets treated the same way. This is your diagnostic criteria for mental health disorders. 90% of this manual gets treated with the same medication classes. The book is not there. Oh, great, we've got all these different criteria for the diagnosis. Why do you care? Because that's how you bill insurance.
Yeah.
It
That's
has
totally.
nothing to do with the patient care. It's so frustrating. All of these things are just asinine. It's the only way I mean,
It truly is. It truly is. And I don't see how anybody can really practice true healthcare in that model.
you can't. You're right. You absolutely cannot.
So tell us about your practice, Mountain View Vital
Vital
Medicine.
medicine. So my practice, we're located in Spokane, Washington, as he's playing through pictures that are on my website. You can see we're active. We farm. We ride dirt bikes. We're getting back into that. I lift weights. I ride bicycles. This is hydrotherapy in Germany. I took that was my time the youngest. And in Germany, you do barefoot walking in the wet grass, and they have barefoot paths that go for literally miles because of the health benefits of walking barefoot over different types of terrain. We're very active. My practice is focused on taking care of anybody who's ready to change their life. And when I say change your life, my patients, I typically work with them for a month, 2 months. Some of them are 9 months, some are 12 months, depending on the complexity of the case. My goal is not to change your life for 3 months, 6 months, 9, 12, whatever it is we initially start with. And I had a patient, because we do health coaching here as part of our program, the way that we work with our patients. And he was telling other patients, because he was at the end of his 3 months, he said, let me tell you, to the people that were just starting out, and this was in the health coaching class with my health coach. And I happened to be down there because we had some IVs going, and I was talking to my nurse, and I heard him say, you're not here for 3 months. You're here to change the next 30 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what we want. Is I want to inspire people and empower them to change their lives, so that you aren't stuck with, well, this is the best I've got, because I want better for you, but I can only work with the folks who want it more than I want it for them.
Right.
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 And that's the thing, is that when you're ready to make that real change, we'll help you make that change. I mean, I've got folks that had MS, zero signs of MS, nothing. Right. Now, does that mean it's going to happen for everybody? No, but I truly believe there is no incurable disease. There are only incurable patients.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Well, thank you for being on today. And thank you you'll be speaking at Medical Freedom Northwest in Spokane,
Yes.
May 3rd. And you're going to be talking more about the history of allopathic medicine and basically how we got here. And
Yeah.
I've seen that speech, and I love it. And if any of the listeners and viewers would like to do that, would like to see him speak on that, we still have some tickets for Medical Freedom Northwest. They are selling fast, filling up fast. So it's a Saturday, and we're going to have a great group of speakers along with Dr. Kinley. So if you want to see him, Medical Freedom Northwest, go to our website, mlrx.com, for tickets. And Dr. Kinley, you've helped us realize our goal today, which is to educate and empower individuals to take charge of their own health. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me rant, because the insurance thing is definitely a rant.
I know. We could go on and on because we're in the same boat, and that's the reason we don't bill insurance. So thank you so much for being on today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Tune in Monday to our regularly scheduled podcast, 12:30 to 1:30. We will have Alex Meyer back on our show to talk about the lockdowns and how lockdowns were illegal and we shouldn't let it happen again. So you don't want to miss that. Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Thank you.